I'm your host for today, Sheila Berman. And today we are going to talk about marketing and marketing strategies during volatile times. To discuss this topic with me today is our guest, Jerry Lowe, Head of Marketing Southeast Asia at Global Investment Manager, Schroders. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you, Sheila.
Let's dive right into it. So first question, Jerry. Do you see any difference in marketing strategies employed in volatile markets versus marketing in normal times?
Sure. I think, first of all, it is very important to remember that, even among volatile markets, the key marketing objectives for any business still remains. Attention still needs to be captured. Consumers still need to be informed and educated. And in fact, the perception of value that your business brings needs to be stronger than in normal times. And also, let's not forget that, some competitors may actually choose to scale down their activities. So this will actually allow opportunities for some businesses to actually charge ahead and also to sort of gain more exposure and mindshare in the process. So for us at Schroders, this is where the areas of investor education, assurance, and even reassurance actually takes priority for us in terms of focus as well as resource allocation.
Would you be able to give an example of reprioritizing focus and resource allocation?
Yeah, sure. So for example, I think last year we actually collaborated with our client partners to actually roll out investor education programs such as an ESG masterclass. This actually offers their sales forces what I would say agile, curated, and engaging learning experiences. This is actually through gamification as well as modular and bite-sized content. The objective, of course, is actually to help them develop skill sets to actually ensure relevancy as we navigate uncertain market environments. I would also add that adversity can also serve as a test of marketing effectiveness. So it is actually a good time to actually put our ears on the ground, to actually listen closely to our target audiences, and then also to sort of streamline or fine-tune our strategies accordingly.
Looking back, though, how drastically did you think, in your opinion, how did the marketing strategies of multinational financial institutions change during uncertain times? So we have the Brexit, for example. We had COVID, which was just recently. How is that impacting the strategies moving forward or right now where we are at?
Yep. Okay. I think definitely during periods of uncertainty, there will actually be greater focus on management and allocation of resources, specifically on the budget itself. So I would say there is increasingly change in the thinking of the marketing function to be more commercially oriented, so as to bring to the organization what I would call quantifiable as well as measurable value. So what this means is that there is greater bridging between the sort of initiatives and activities that we do with the measurable results and outcomes. Most obviously, of course, in the form of sales and revenues. And I'm very glad that this change in thinking is and will be here to stay.
I actually agree. I like the fact that everything can be measured now. Well, not maybe everything, but it can be measured. But when it comes to the biggest challenge in marketing, because we still need to maintain, well, some people say it's about maintaining credibility, or some people say it's expanding the business, or it's nurturing existing clientele. And we all know this has impact on budget. How does a financial institution still achieve brand reach and share when you're thinking about cutting budgets or budget allocations?
Yep. Okay. I think I don't think there's any one answer to the question because after all, different organizations will have different strategic priorities or focuses. But of course, you're right in that resource allocation can be a key challenge when it comes to volatile markets, and also coupled with the fact that with different audiences, their preferences and priorities may further diverge. So what this means is that further segmentation in terms of targeting, in terms of messaging, in order to highlight the different value propositions may be required to actually counter this. So I think despite this challenge, I would say that the opportunity here is for brands messaging to be consistent through good times and bad, and also to remain relatable to audiences. In volatile markets, this is where investor emotions tend to run very high. There's actually opportunity and wisdom for brands to actually ride the wave, and actually for them to focus more on, I would say, appealing to emotions. So this, I think, can be done by communicating spirit and purpose, while assuring them, that our clients continue to be placed at the heart of our business.
I like that. You're really looking at your clients as, well, I know that we're talking about B2B, but we also know that and understand that businesses are made up of people. So it's also appealing to the emotion. So that's actually a good way to keep reassuring and reminding people that businesses are made of people. So what is the best way to maintain brand visibility and inspire confidence without having to spend too much? Because we can see, say, in retail, luxury retail, they are spending a lot on ads. But if we're talking about budget freezes and budget cuts, is this really the right time to spend on ad? What do you think?
Yeah, okay. I don't believe there is a one-size-fits-all answer to this question. So after all, the choice of channel mix stems from many factors. So depending on strategic priorities, target audiences, marketing strategies, and so on. But what I would say that, I do believe that advertising aside, PR is definitely a cost-effective means in building and maintaining brand trust and visibility during tough environments. And so to achieve that, I think as marketers, we need to focus on producing relevant and timely content to achieve my sort of earlier objectives, which I spoke about regarding investor education, assurance, and even reassurance.
You mentioned about utilizing PR and coming up with relevant content. When you talk about relevant content, though, and again, since we're talking about financial institutions, how do you nurture that relationship in order to have your PR department to be able to reach out effectively to the media out there? Finances normally is like very dry. They're like, well, they would likely talk more about politics or related to consumers. So as a tip, in just your opinion, how could you as a marketer or your PR department then nurture that? Or how do you make content so interesting and relevant that the media would go like, oh yes, that's actually something that we can help you with?
Yeah. So I think in tough environments, there is a natural tendency for marketers to steer away from, I would say, touchy subjects. So certain subjects would be like off limits when it comes to talking about markets, for example. I think there's opportunity for marketers to actually go deeper into such topics that are relevant to end consumers and investors rather. And then, with these topics that actually relevant or touch, their hearts, this will actually, help the PR folks, bring themselves closer to the end investors.
So don't touch away or don't veer away from touchy topics.
Yes, correct. And instead, address them directly and relevantly. I think this would be very helpful in, reaching the relevant media.
Fantastic. I think a lot of our marketers would be able to learn from that. And anticipating now that there are so many things that are happening in the economy, politically, at each turn of events in each market. So we're just talking about Asia collectively in investing in finance. How does the recession right now and the budget cuts that are happening, how does that affect the launch of the marketing activities, particularly when they're already in the pipeline? In your opinion, when should the team start to relook at the campaigns?
Okay. To answer this question, I think it is actually important to take a step back and rethink how we can, put less emphasis on marketing as a cost center, but more as an enabler of sales. Which brings me to my earlier point about being, commercially oriented in our thinking. in order to bring the organization quantifiable and measurable value. So once we have an environment where marketers actually recognize their role as a strategic partner to the sales teams, that we can actually contribute directly to business goals. This is where the subject of budget cuts and reallocation becomes less of an issue. So for us, by engaging regularly and closely with sales, we are actually able to be very active in, to be consistent in rolling out initiatives throughout difficult periods. And this strong relationship has actually enabled us to launch many effective activities, resulting in very positive outcomes for our business.
I really like and I actually agree with what you said about marketing needing to be commercially oriented, because you just mentioned marketing is always looked at as a cost center. And until marketing also sees itself as a sales enabler or a partner for sales to enable to enable them to reach their targets or the business goals, only then I would say would the perception that marketing is a cost center change.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Thank you very much, Jerry. It was great to have you today. And thank you.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure. And thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode of B2B Marketing Asia.